given to you in a way that no one has been able to prove it, to say there's a place called heaven that you go to, because no one has died and come back from there to say I was in heaven and I came back. People can have an out of body experience. People can get to a point where they may be in a hospital or whatever and they cross over and then they come back through the wormhole, because the sciences that Pana Babylon is teaching us is explaining all these things. It's explaining how you can come out of the physical and go back in. These are sciences like things like levitation, things like what do you call it, teleportation, things that require higher sciences. He's able to answer and break down. And he came on the scene saying, I come from a place or an advanced society, and I've been given the task and sent to come here to help you guys evolve and to prepare you for the future. And that future is now. But the future or the 24,000 year cycle started again from the year 2000. Yeah. So when I was saying about our ancestors being ontologists, they've watched many worlds come and go. They've watched cycles. So, you have, if you look at every day, things are worked in a cycle, because originally the universe we live in, that was a dot, and then it spiraled outwards in a cycle. The word uni means one, and you're talking about that universe spiraling outwards. But when you go back beyond the universe, so when we look at even like today, um, you have seconds, right? They use the smallest measurement in terms of time in seconds, right? But they teach you to start from one. So you have, if you're counting in numbers, you start from one, right? You say one, two, three, even though we know there's a zero before that. But the fact that if you go one, two, three, you can go first, second, third, right? So if the smallest measurement they give you is seconds, what happened to the first? Are you with me?
Yeah, like the 0.0.
Right. So the first is because they weren't here. So they only teach you when they came on the scene, which is the seconds. And so the seconds go around, give you 60 seconds. Then you get 60 seconds, make a minute. Then you get 60 minutes, make, that's a cycle. And then eventually you get to hours. So you've gone seconds, minutes, hours. Then from the hours, you get 24 hours. Then they say that's a day, right? Then a day becomes, 7 days, which is 1 week. And that week becomes what? Months. The months become a year. And then you keep going. The year become, you can keep going, like you can say, even to a century, to a millennium. So when you go back 24,000 years, they call that an equinox. Because when the time starts to get really big, they have to give it labels like, 2,000 years, a millennium, or like centuries. And then they say 24,000 years is an equinox. You do another cycle of 24,000 years, they say that's an epoch, because that's now 50,000 years. Because what it is, even though we say 24, it's actually 24,896. So they're just round it off to, do you know what I mean? And so when you do two cycles, it's rounded off to 50,000. They call that an epoch. But our ancestors were here watching the different cycles, and certain beings only came about at a particular point in time. So 6,000 years ago is where the Adamites were grafted, you see? And this is where most of the stories in your biblical books, they only start from a point where they were around and they recorded it. This is why when you start to read these books, like the Bible, and you say, okay, what's the beginning? They say Genesis. And you say, what does Genesis mean? And um, people don't realize they're two different words. You have genes, which deals with the genetics or the genealogy, and then you have Isis, which is a person that the Greeks were referring to, as in Osiris, Isis, and Horus. And but that female Isis goes back all the way back to our ancestor. I mean, that word can be, if you go back in the different cultures, you say Ashtat or Arashtat, or we go all the way back to like the first female where we say Sakhamtat in ancient Egypt. It's the same with the male, right? You have, people say, talk about Jesus or whatever, but when you start to say, why does every monotheistic religion end their prayers with the word Amen, like in the Christianity, or Amin in Arabic, or Amen in Hebrew? That's because that goes back to one of our ancestors known as Amun. Yeah. And Amun is part of a triad of beings. Yeah. So you have Amun, and they use this to depict the positions of the sun. So they go Amun, Atun, Atun, and Amun. And then the bit that's under, they call that Anun, meaning like life began in the waters and came out. So the cycle of they using the sun going in a cycle is just teaching you about our ancestors that are able to basically continuously reincarnate. Yeah. And that ties into what I was saying about we're now in a time period where and everything is being renewed. So all the old ways, all the lies, all the things that are based on belief have to go. It's about knowing now. And most people that follow a belief system don't even take the time to research the word belief. Because if they did, it literally tells you that the word believe means to accept things you cannot prove. And that's what people do. Like you have a conversation with people and you start asking them questions. Like you've been a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, or whatever for, let's say, all your life, but you haven't taken the time to study in great detail, like what does the word Bible mean? What does the word Genesis mean? What's the first books? Where do they come from? What language is the Bible in? What language is the Quran in? Can you speak that language? Have you studied to see that what you're being told is making sense? And most people haven't, they just believe it. Go ahead. Can you use a mic so that we can hear you, please?
Basically, I'm spiritual, yeah. But I have a Quran at home and I've got the secret, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll open the book and I'll close it. And there was a sentence that says, every little one sees. And how I interpret that sentence was that everything that went on in my life there, like by intentions or anything. So somebody can think something, or multiple or hundreds of people can think something, and it's actually not what it seems. But the right people will say, no, that's not what actually it seems, or that didn't happen. So, because every little one sees, yeah, by that sentence that I took out of the Quran,
yeah,
certain things will add up to the point where just be like, that's not actually what it really is.
Yeah,
that's how I interpret it.
Right. Did you have a question?
No, I just stopped you there.
Okay, no, because because really when we have these classes, it's really about addressing people's questions because obviously we let people obviously also like contribute, give any feedback. But the reason we do this is to make sure that we're giving out information in a particular way. So when you say, I open the Quran, for example, the first thing we would ask you is, what's the verse, what's the chapter? Because we would all need to read it to see what it's saying and whether or not what you're saying it's saying or interpreting it as is accurate. Because the minute we get into people giving their opinions or interpretation, they may mean well, they may be good people, but then it means that
everyone. It might just mean that I'm not saying I'm a Muslim or anything like that.
No, I'm coming to that. I'm not saying don't read the book.
But the sentence that why it applied to my life, just the sentence itself.
Yeah.
That's why when you was mentioning the Quran, like people studying it.
Yeah.
I don't sit there studying it, but there are certain sentences, if it applies to me, I can resonate with it.
Right, but what I'm saying is we're not telling anybody not to read the Quran. not to read the Bible.
Yeah,
in fact,
yeah.
I'm not addressing just you here.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
But we've got people all over the world on this class right now. So sometimes I have to clarify things and address it for everyone. That's what I'm saying. So we're not saying don't read the Quran. We're not saying don't read the Bible. We're saying read everything, study everything. Because that's what we had to do, right?
Well, most things it comes down to
right. But what we're saying is, what then ends up happening is, even though we study everything, we have to deal with it from a factual perspective. Because if it's left to interpretation and to opinions, then we get lost. Because everybody can say the same thing you read. It might apply to you in a particular way, but everyone's going to say it applies to me in this way.
I won't sit there and study it. I'll open and close it.
Right. But what we're saying is, again, not to kind of go do the back and forth, but we're just saying, yes, study everything, but if we're going to address it for the benefit of everyone, it has to be from an actual facts perspective. And we're saying the sentence you said about what it meant to you, that can be applicable because everyone has eyes, right? And we are all connected. Yeah. I'm talking about on an etheric level, because ultimately everything is connected. So we are all able to see, using the fact that if we're all connected and we all have eyes, we can all see. So this is what we call pa'ut, meaning all. So we go from the all, meaning that you are a universe. So you're the center of your universe. Everyone here is the center of their universe because everything revolves around you, right? So everything is equal distance to you. That's a universe. Now, when you get two people together, that will be referred to as a dual verse, because there's two different universes now, which makes two. So there's a dual verse. And then when you get three people, you have a triverse. So when you look at that from a family unit, you will have, let's say the father is one universe, the mother is another universe. And when they have an offspring or a child, that they become a triverse. Let me finish, right? So then that's one family. If you then multiply that with different families, what happens is we become a multiverse. Yeah. So when we say the all, that will be multiverse. When we say all, that will be omniverse. Yeah. And all those are connected. And when we're saying the journey for everyone is to go back to being a part of the all, or return to all, because all is, yeah, and we're all connected. But what happens is that other people and other things step in the way and tell you that you should channel your energy in this direction. And then men get involved and try to control people. And then you get all of these books, like I mentioned before, where we started dividing and fighting against one another because of religious dogma, etc. Yeah, go ahead. What are you going to say? Please use the mic. Use the mic.
With me, I listen to myself.
So use the mic, please. Yeah.
With me, just to share, yeah, I listen within myself. So, like, just to clarify the conclusion, yeah. With me personally, like everything you say, I agree with it. But, it's just that when I'm alone, I'm reassuring myself.
Yeah, you have to start from yourself.
Yeah. So if my mind says, all right, I'm speaking to my God, yeah, or and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go. My God, just read the book. You don't even have to read everything; just open and close it. Because sometimes you need that reassurance. So if I'm reasoning with myself to get certain answers, or I'm writing down, then I can look back at it and just say like, oh, this is what's good for me. This is what I'm going to implement in my life.
Right, but the point is,
with religion, I won't read the whole book because I don't want everything on top of my head. Do you know what I mean? Because then it's just going to confuse me. I don't want to be talking about like, oh, this is what's happened with Delilah and Samson, all of them things there. That doesn't nothing.
Remember what I just explained to you is that we're meant to be unified. The minute you say my God, you said my God, yeah?
God within.
Yeah. Right, but the thing is,
another name is just like the Godhead.
But what I'm saying is, if you're using the term God, then someone has got ahead of you to predefine what that means, because different people. No, but I'm saying the word you're using, I'm saying somewhere along the line.
I'm going to use the word I'm using.
Exactly, that's my point.
I know this is not my native language because I know.
Bro, I'm not trying to go back and forth and like have an argument. All I'm saying is, you just said that was the word you were given or from a young age. Yeah. And what I'm saying is, a lot of us do this misdirection of praise and gratitude, where we're channeling that towards, when we say God, there's a tone and a vibration and an energy to that term, to that tone, to that word, which is not with our ancestors. So it may be your ancestors that is guiding you and giving you those voices and the directions or whatever. But if we say God or Allah or that, give it to someone else, we're literally channeling that energy towards them as opposed to ourselves or our ancestors. Do you follow me? That's what we're saying. Yeah. So I'm saying break up. Yeah, but you're using what you know until you know better. Yeah. And we're saying we're here to tell you what to use, which is better, which will be the Natharu, who are our ancestors. And the thing is, they're not gonna connect with you or help you or make you. I mean, they will to a certain degree, but the point I'm making is like
of not speaking the English language.
Yeah, no, it's like if you're walking down the road and your name is Mark, and I'm going Jack, Peter, you're not gonna look around. You're gonna just keep walking. And it's the same principle when we're speaking and calling on tones and names that are not to us, then they're not hearing you. It's like tuning your radio station to the right frequency so you can receive the information. So we're saying to people, yes, you may have been using that all your life, or you were taught that, but now you know better with wu-sabat. You need to start trying to apply the right tones. This is why we have our own language and our own vibration and frequency, so that you get to help. Because a lot of us are calling on foreign deities and we're not getting the help, and we then wonder why we're not getting the help, because we're not connecting with them, and we need to connect with them. All right. No worries. I've got a couple of questions on the Zoom. I'm just going to quickly. Jaja Brown, it says, in the previous class, you mentioned that the gates of the lower abodes open between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. everywhere in the world. It does not have the same time. So how do the negative entities distinguish 2 a.m. 3 a.m. in the USA to the 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. in Africa? That's actually an excellent question, and it's one that I've actually put to other student teachers and to the if we can't, I'm just checking now to see if we've got an answer. If we've got an answer, I'll tell you. But it's a very good question. It's like when I used to say we're meant to chant at 3 a.m. 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 a.m., 9 p.m. Thank you. And I used to be like, it's not the same time in every zone. So how does that work? And the answer did come back, and the answer was simply that because it's about the tone and the vibration, and that because it's 9 a.m., 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. everywhere around the world, at some point when we're chanting in the different time zones, the point is that the chant is continuous all around the world. But I do take your question in terms of the gates opening. Yeah, I'm not sure. Does any other student the question is if the gates are opening between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Yeah, is that if someone was in another time zone? Yeah, we'll have to definitely, unless there's any other student teachers online, but I've already actually put that question to the student teachers. And one of the things with us, as we always say, even though we say ask us anything, we're not scared to say when we don't know the answer, or we will go and find out, because we have somebody that has all the answers and gives us all the answers. So what is really good about that question, like we always say to people, you have to be studying, because the way we are going to all elevate and grow is when we ask questions we can't answer. Because if we know all the answers to every question you ask us, we'll just always be at the same point. So when people ask questions we don't know, we'll compile those and get them to the master teacher. He will answer them and give them to us. And by way of our questions, he knows whether or not we're elevated. Because when he started teaching us, a lot of people just ask questions on religion, and he wanted to give us wu-sabat. So much so that he had to put wu-sabat aside and wait until we reached the level where he's taught us everything about these gods and deities, to the point where we had to say, who is this God? And then, or who is this Allah? And then he's like, okay, you're ready now. And then he told you the answer. Until this day, a lot of people can't deal with the answer. The answer was simply, you are the God. You are the Allah. And what does that mean? People are like, oh, you're blaspheming because I'm not God. You say to people you're God, they say I'm not God, because they think God is this mystical, unproven being that is sitting in a throne in the sky somewhere. But the reason they don't want to take on the responsibility or accepting that they are God is because that means now you are responsible for everything. Because you say God is in charge and in control. And so once you wear the mask of God, you now have to take on all the problems as well, because you have to solve them. And many people, when it gets to that stage, that's when it's like they don't want to be God anymore. Because to be God, you need to study, you need to be able to help people, build, solve the problems of the world. Okay, another question by the same person. The Chinaman. So to answer the first question, Ja, we're going to research it and come back to you, because one thing we don't do is, if we don't know, we don't make it up or give you opinions. We rather ask the man that knows. And when we say ask us anything, it's not us that knows everything, it's the master teacher. And he has done that since the 60s till today. No question that has been put to him has he not been able to answer. And how do you know? Because he writes books and puts the information and the answers in the books. So we will get that answer to you. The second question, the Chinaman is moving into Africa in vast numbers as China is overpopulated and is the new colonizers. It appears that they are, it appears that long question, that they are unstoppable in terms of buying land and resources and teaching African children Mandarin. How can China be stopped taking over Africa? Well, this is why we are here, because a lot of times we don't even know ourselves what we have and the resources we have. And we're a worldwide people. So if we're focusing our time in praying to the wrong gods, building other people's economy, we just give so much to everyone else that we're not focusing on giving that energy to ourselves and coming together and building, then yeah, we will allow other people to take over our stuff. So this is why wu-sabat is here, to wake people up. And then after you become God, then you work with other gods and goddesses so that we can actually grow and build together. And we are in Africa, but it's down to us. We have to be able to, because remember that the governments of Africa, a lot of those have been westernized as well, because the European and other races have been successful in teaching us to not recognize our power and to not recognize that we have all the resources that built the West, in terms of, the gold, the platinum, uranium, cobalt, diamonds, oil, name it. It's an abundant in Africa. And we run over here and here we don't even get to live in our best way because we don't even have the sun as sun people. So to answer the question is it's down to us. And this is what part of our doctrine is about. It's about us waking everybody worldwide so that the leaders in Africa don't get bamboozled like in the past where, you know, the European, the Spanish, the, you know, different people come to Africa and give you, you know what I mean? They give you the Bible and they take all the riches and then you're suffering and they take that and build their, you know what I mean, their communities, their world. And then everyone in Africa is trying to run here, killing themselves, crossing, you know, using, you know, those dinghy boats and whatever to try and come over here when really, if they recognize how powerful they were and how much resources were available in Africa, and even those of us in the diaspora, you know, we can work with them to build and to stop foreigners coming over and colonizing. So it's really down to us. And on that note, the most important thing we have to do collectively as a people, for anyone who is saying, okay, what can I do? The best thing you can do is join us. And if you don't know how to do that, I was going to, before I kind of moved on, I hadn't even touched on the subject of today, which is unplugging from the matrix with wu-sabat, which is really what you're asking. That's what these classes are about. They're about how do you unplug from being caught up in the matrix, giving your time, your energy, and everything to build other people or the oppressor to continue to oppress you, because it doesn't make sense. Like, you have to make it make sense. How do we have our children, send them to their schools, and we've broken down many times the word school in Hebrew means shul, which means hell. You send them to hell, and they literally are in hell because their abilities get dumbed down in school because they're a 9 ether child and they're being taught everything other than what they're supposed to do. Even Dick Gregory was saying, we are not people, or children are not people that you should put in the box to sit down all day, because they, by nature, children need to move around. They have a lot of energy. So you sit them in a box as in a classroom and told them they can't move. Of course they're going to move. Yeah, but the point is that's a system of training you to follow instructions to become a slave, because they don't really focus on the fact that everyone's an individual and everybody learns at different pace. And so, you know, they try to get everyone to conform, and you come out, you go into their world to go and get a job, which again limits you because you don't aspire to be an entrepreneur, to be able to build and be your own boss. So you work for someone else. They give you a wage or a check to keep you in check because you have rules and regulations you need to follow. You will never earn past a certain amount because the CEOs or the people at the top, if you always look most of the time, you know, there are very few black people in prominent positions out there. So you're gonna work all your life, and then when you get the money, you pay it with bills and whatever. So you're just constantly in a cycle where you'll never break away from that. So you're literally in another form of slavery. So we are teaching you like you, and then obviously there's the benefit system or the welfare system in America, where it's designed to stop you from aspiring to be greater because someone's giving you handouts. So as long as someone is taking care of, you know, your stuff, you don't really need to you know, you don't push yourself. And then they use they break up the family structure by giving women, you know, they actually help single parent women, and then the state becomes the replacement for the father because the state provides the housing for the female, you know, the money, the benefits, etc. So after a while, there's going to be contention in the family because the woman's going to look at the man like, you're not doing your job as a man, especially if the man is not able to provide, and then let's say there's some kind of infidelity, or like the woman's gonna look at the man like, you got to go, you know. So these are things, these are constructs that have been designed to stop us from basically, if you didn't have welfare or benefits, you will be pushed to find a way to survive, and you would then kind of like get a skill. You'll have to do something to make money, and this is what we're trying to say. You can unplug from the matrix, and it's easier when you work with like-minded people. So if people have a business idea or they're stuck in anywhere, we've got a whole system in place to help people unplug. Because one of the things that came from part one last week was, the brother's not here today, but it was about money. A lot of people say money is what's stopping them from unplugging from the matrix. And then I asked him, how much money do you need to unplug from the matrix? And he had never thought about it. So it's in your mind to think that money is the reason that's stopping you. Because if you have the right education, as in financial literacy and certain things, then money wouldn't be a problem. And especially if we're working together collectively. And this is what the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, is, teaching us and encouraging us. Oh, okay, you got it. Excellent. All right. So what we're saying is, our problem is really coming together in love and unity, because we have all the skills we have. You know what I mean? Collectively, we spend trillions on hair, false nails, false eyelashes. I'm trying to think things men do.
Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes, BMWs, Rolexes. I've got to have 10 cars. I've got to have, do you know what I mean? Like, we waste so much money giving it back, when really, if we were really working together and building the things we need, we would have no problem. We would have no problem at all. We don't like to do the things where farming, producing things. We buy everything. We buy everything from the Asian and the European, who buys it all from China. So it's like, but yet China gets all the resources from Africa. America don't really produce anything. Europe don't really produce anything. You know, the things they produce are based on other people's sweat. You know, so what we're saying is, the key thing we have to do is free the person that knows, the master teacher, Partner Babyanun. And even on just our videos that we do on YouTube, like, you look at a video, we'll have like 400,000 views. Now, if every one of those 400,000 people contributed and supported us, or even to the master teacher, which is what I'm about to say, because everyone can help get him out. Why do we need to get him out? Because he has the answers, he knows the way. And so everyone should do their best to support the legal efforts. And if you like to do that, you know how simple it is for us to free ourselves. There's an email address called Acts of Kindness. It's on the screen. Acts as in ACTS, OF, kind, KIND, NESS, NESS, donate at outlook.com. That's OUTLOOK.com. I'm saying that to say, and I'll repeat that, Acts of Kindness, donate at outlook.com. It's about us working together. When you have a community like we still have, but our community has been dispersed, right? Because we allowed foreigners to come in and destabilize us. And, trumped up charges against the master teacher. I'm leaving that on the screen for a long time. Trumped up charges, and we ourselves not being able to stay tight and united, we kind of allowed, as they do all the time with most of the organizations that, we build, we allowed us to be dispersed. They stole our land. And that's because why? When we were together, we were producing everything for ourselves. We were living for and by each other. We had everything. We used to produce toothpaste. We had our own money. We had everything. And we still do to a certain degree, but now we're having to rebuild and we're dispersed all over the world. And when you come here, you only see a small fraction of us, even in the UK. You know, there was a time we had about, let me see, we had a store in Brixton, we had a store in Thornton Heath, we had a store in Dalston, we had a store in Lewisham, we had a store in Luton. Any other stores? We had a lot of stores, and because of the infighting and us not uniting and working together, we've dwindled to a point where now we're rebuilding. And if anybody wants to see progress and rebuild, that's what we're doing now. And just like 400, I said, let's say 400,000 people. On average, we get straight away, you put a video up. There was a video I was put up the other day. In 2 days, it had 18,000 views. And I'm saying that shows you the level and the power that we could work at. Where if, can someone do maths in here? If we had 400,000 people that all gave £100, how much is that? 4 million. Yeah, see, mathematician. 4 million, just like that. We could raise 4 million. And then obviously you'd have the experts in finance, the people that know how to turn that over. So that 4 million can be 8 million. And within, I would say within a few months, we'll buy so much land and build and have our own schools, our own hospitals or health centers. We'll have everything we need. And then we will educate ourselves, provide jobs, well, not jobs, careers for ourselves. Everyone could unplug from the matrix, because it will now be, what do you need? What support do you need? Yeah. To grow your business or whatever you need. And we will have expertise who will help you with that. We do that here on a small scale. That's why we started doing these classes. And we're like, let's put it out there. Like, what do you need to unplug from the matrix? Come and work with us. And when you're in the community, because obviously the powers that be, once you start to hit them in the pocket, this is why when there's some kind of injustice against us and we say boycott, everyone boycott whatever shop, they lose money. And if you're by yourself, they can target you. But if I don't have anything, nothing at all, they took everything away from me, right? And we were all in the community, and all of you could give me back £10. I'll be able to survive, I'll be able to live. And this is the attitude we have to have with each other. So everyone is fending for everyone else. And that's what we were doing. And they saw this, and it was a threat, because they don't want you to be able to be self-governing. But I said we are a retained sovereign nation. We've retained our sovereignty. We don't need permission from anyone who came after us to tell us what we should or should not do. But because the Bible gave them dominion, right? Because it says in the Bible, Adam was asked to name everything. So everything that was named in the last 6,000 years by Adam, I'm using biblical stories now, is what you know. Everything you know is what they tell you. And if they know what it is before you know, then you're not thinking. This is why if you say, I'm a Christian, they gave you that. They know what that is. You say I'm a Muslim, they know what that is. You say I'm a Hebrew Israelite, they know what that is. If you say I'm a whatever you want to say you are, but the only thing is with us, we say I'm a Nuwapian. They go, what? What's that? See? So we've already taken back the power, because they have to come to us to know what that is. And most people, because the master said for many years, he wasn't going to tell you what it really means. And he's only recently told us. I mean, it means many things, but Nuwapians predict the future. That's who we are. We are the future. And we can tell you, looking backwards, everything that he has said has come to pass. So he's predicting the future. And the future, the way it stands right now, is we have to unite and come together so that we can survive. Because if you rely on the system of the matrix and then you're not unplugging from it, then you're going to be, your life, everything's going to be dictated by the matrix. and what that means. And that means the loss of civil liberties. The draconian measures are coming in. You can't do this, you can't do that. And how they control that is through your food, your money, your shelter. Because most people will be like, how will I survive if I don't have any money? Money is not even real. It's just a means to get you the things you need, like food, shelter, clothing. But if you've already got a system where you can provide all that for yourself, do you actually need the paper? Because the paper is worthless, you know. So you can unplug from the matrix with wu-sabat. Does anybody want to unplug? Silence in heaven. I know the class here, people are saying yes. Anyone on Clubhouse? Anyone on Zoom? Do you want to unplug from the matrix? Honestly, does anyone here on Clubhouse want to unplug from the matrix? The matrix, their matrix, shall I say? Yeah, we have to take control of our destiny and write our own future for the next 24,000 years. The master said that he's given us everything. He's given us, now we have to write our story. We have to write the books. We have to fix the wrongs, because you can't complain. You can't complain. It's like people go to the school and complain about the curriculum or control about how, do you know what I mean? We're not getting taught Black history. They don't have any obligation to teach you Black history. They give you 1 month in a year to say you can be Black on this day. And you could be Black. You could be Black. You could be Black in October, but the rest of the year, yeah, Blacktober. I know it's different in America. What's the date? But yeah, like how can someone tell you you can be Black in October? And then what do? Everyone teaches about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and that's it. And both of them failed because Malcolm X, don't get me wrong, we're not saying don't have any role models of our, you know what I mean, of our people. We do, because we respect everyone. And this is another thing. I will address that on Monday, because someone made a comment in the video to say that. Anyway, we'll forget about that. But the point being that they failed because Malcolm X was saying, we're tired, we've had enough. So we're going to eye for eye, tooth for tooth, by, was it, any means necessary? Which, it sounds nice, it sounds good, but really, if you're going against a being that by nature they're a killer, and they produce the guns and the bullets that you're going to have to get from them, you're not going to win that war, you see. So as well as the message was, as in standing up for yourself, we're not about warring of that nature, because we have enough intelligence. Of course, you can defend yourself if you're attacked, but we are not the aggressor. We're not saying to anybody, pick up arms, go against the government, and we're near that, because it's a peaceful way that we can go about things. Our ancestors and nature is on our side and will work with us and help us. So we're saying he failed in that way because you can't really pick up arms. And then on the other spectrum, you had Martin Luther King, who was saying, let's come together with everybody and hold hands and kumbaya, and you know what I mean, which is the Christian doctrine of turn the other cheek. And again, when you do that, you just get slapped around. And if you notice, anyone who's done any research and studied Martin Luther King, it was when he went to the mountaintop, as it were, and he came back and he started to talk about economic equality. That's when he became a threat. And that's why, you know, they had to get rid of him. The same thing with our master teacher. The information he was putting out was so advanced, they didn't know, how is he getting this information? Where is it coming from? And that was a threat to them. He was bringing the world and people from all different walks of life, different religions and persuasion together. And everybody was coming to Saviour's Day. which is June the 26th. Yeah, we celebrate that every year, which was his birthday, but also our new year. And he was able to bring all types of people together, and people were starting to eat properly, because part of the system that keeps us down is to feed you crap so that your health is bad, so that you're not thinking properly, so that your brain's not functioning properly. You know, with the fluoride in the water and fluoride in the toothpaste, and you know, and the marketing and the programming for you to eat crap, your McDonald's, your Kentucky's, or all this stuff that's not good for you. And they poison you with the salts and the sugars. So when he started to teach us how to eat well, even Dr. Sebi, you know, Dr. Sebi, that was one of the most healthiest people. They're telling you he died from what? No, it was it's kind of a flu. What's it called again? Pneumonia. That's it. They said it, they claimed he died from pneumonia because he was in prison refusing to eat the food that they were giving him. But my point is that when you start to eat healthily, the businesses that are feeding you crap lose money. And he said McDonald's didn't start giving out toys for the sake of it. They had to give toys to children to entice them to come in and buy the stuff. Because most of the time, children would say, I want to go to McDonald's. They get the McDonald's, and the minute they get it, they just take the toy and start playing with the toy. They're not really interested in the food. But these are all tactics that they had to use to keep alive. But obviously, some of us, no matter how much right knowledge, right wisdom you give, people will choose not to follow it. And even with wu-sabat, a lot of people are like, what is that? I've never heard of it. Like, it has to be something that the European or someone gives us. That's when you're going to accept it. But we're saying that we built the pyramids, we were here first, we do this, we have all this knowledge, but we don't know how to unite and build and do things that it's going to be for our benefit. Okay. Any other question?
Just to add to what you say.
Please use the mic. It's right there.
No, it's more sort of an image of
okay.
For those who may, do some background check on a picture. It's got a picture of Barney Luther King with Elijah Muhammad together.
Oh, maybe so I can put it up.
They didn't actually meet up.
Yeah, that's what happened when I said
when
yeah.
Talking about economics and stuff, he was being schooled by Elijah Muhammad.
That's right. Thank you, Tawatak. You know, we say very basic things that we need to do, and if we just did it, that's all we have to do. But for whatever reason, we've been taught to, someone says yes on Nima, you want to unplug. Well, Nima, we're looking to hear from you. We're getting people filling out the wanting to join us and contact, like we're working our way around. So don't if you've already filled out that form to say you want to join us, we're going to be in contact very soon. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, let me share my screen. So it's time for us to read. There's really no time. We just got to do it now. It's not about just oh, sorry, I have to stop sharing this, and it's not about just talking and talking. We're not really here. That's why we try not to preach. We try to get you to ask questions so that we can address your questions as opposed to just talking at you. Who? Okay, 1 second. Can everyone see? Oh, here we go. Right, so on our website, there's a join us now button right there. So what's that thing? Oh, thank you. Yeah, so for those who want to join us, because we're about getting to work. If you have a product or a service, we can work with you. I'm just gonna read out for Nicole, my good brother, Osir, has managed to find me the information you were asking about.
Towards all, I'm listening.
Yeah. What school is this, Zama? Oh, intelligence design, yeah. If one of the moderators can put the link in the Zoom, you can get it straight away. Right, I'm going to read from verse. Yeah, okay. I'm going to read from verse. Okay, I'll read from 547 down. We kind of run into it. So it says the physical planet Earth in this part of your solar system. Remember last week I explained that our planet is, sector 3, zone 6. Yeah. And then Project 24. Yeah. Because it was aliens, our ancestors, that kind of put the solar system together. If you want to know more about that, there's a Partarak or Partaruk called I Was There, which is here, that you can read on that. The physical planet in this part of your solar system and universe, and the Ba'a, soul beings of this one universe's orbs. 548. The original or first humanoids grown on planet Earth were flesh and blood beings grown by the deities called the Natharu, or the overseers, who originated here from the Sa'at, Orion, and the Sabatat, Sirius star system, into the Mayat waters, then onto Sakar land. 549. Using 9 reason and the rules and cycles of absolute natural nature, and there were grown 9 original species out of the one called dwellers. And these are them, right? They dwelled 1 in water, 2 land, 3 sky, 4 caves, 5 hills, 6 the deserts, 7 the swamp, 8 the trees, and 9 the forest. And here it goes, 550. The 9 species of the original as compared today to the 4 major races and the numerous subdivision races, and the last being the white race. The original 9 species, that's 551. It gives you a table or a diagram. 1, atum. 2, tefnut. 3, shu. 4, nut. 5, Geb. 6, Isis. 7, Osiris. 8, Nephthys. And 9, Seth. And so then they are from the sea onto land by way of Nuntat and Nun, Hetat and He, Ketat and Kek, Amuntat and Amun of Ptah, right? Because remember, Ptah is the opener, and Amun is his son. Is it over? Yeah, that's correct. And then you have the 9 deities were originated at different intervals of time, and over time came into existence in Africa, oversaw by the Natharu, or the providers, or the Razaku, which are the Riskians, who sent Pamuntaru, or the Natharu overseers. Yeah. And then since the original Pamutasu, the Enneads, from the Pamutmantu, the Ogdoads, flesh and blood deities, and blood and spirit once grown or created, they never cease to exist in spirit form or formula as long as the universe lasts. All right, so I hope that's answered that question for you, Nicole.
How is that small?
And you can find that in that scroll.
Oh, so tomorrow, when it comes to the trees, what you really mean? The trees connected to us. You're talking about the birds that be in the tree, or I don't know what's that really connected with the tree. The connection with the tree.
Oh, tree. You're talking about Ghanaian tree. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, because a lot of so from the water, remember that the dolphins are our ancestors, right? And so before we spoke, we used to use click sounds or like certain tones and vibrations. This is why even if you listen to how the dolphins communicate, they use echolocation and they use a form of clicking because there were a lot of species underwater before we came onto land. And so our language, the women were the first, the Natharu gave the women a larynx 54,000 years ago, and they were the first to speak. But they started off with first clicking and making certain sounds and tones. And that's where some of our ancestors and species, like what you're saying with the Ghanaians, they still speak with that click sound. And it's the same. I do it a lot as well sometimes. I don't know, I do it without realizing, but a lot of people speak and still have the remnants of those click sounds and things like that. And I think even in South Africa, is it South Africa? Yeah, they speak with that because again, the Sans people were those original perfected beings that came out from the water, from what I've just read, and they were able to basically their DNA is what's used for a lot of other species. So you see that every race has a unique trait. Like we, as the original African people, our trait is our hair, and we're the only people with hair on the planet. We don't say that to insult anybody, but it's a fact. And that's why we used to look very different when we our hair curled in the number 9 and they were very tight curls. And then you have the different levels of ether in terms of hair. 9 ether is the most kind of like potent. Then we were referred to as having afros, which we call a natural. And this is why when you go back to the 60s and the 70s, we were unique because we had afros. Like if you look at the Jackson 5 or any other musician, everybody was wearing an afro. So they started to teach us to hate our hair because it was known that our hair has power to receive information by way of the sun. And so they went about teaching us to basically straighten our hair, curl our hair, you know what I mean? Use the hot combs on our hair to basically make it into the Caucasian's hairstyle, which is 6 ether. And so they basically gradually took us from being recognized with a unique trait in our hair to looking like the European. Until this day, a lot of women, they wear the straight hair, and men as well. They try their best not to keep their hair. And then it went from hair to the color of our skin to bleaching and so on and so forth. So our language was another way that they took our identity from us because the original language on the planet is our language, Misbatia, or known as Nuapic. So basically they went about stripping you off of your unique traits and identity to looking like everyone else. Everyone else had fur in terms of what we're calling hair. And when you look at the Sans people, all the races have a unique trait, but they have all those traits. So like like the dimple in the cheek, the hair, the epiphode of the eyes, like the Chinese people have. If you look at every race, they have a particular unique trait, but the Sans people have all of them. All right, so let me go back to the question you were saying. Is it Ja you said? Okay, Jennifer Irwin said before that, people should find a business course to do. You can do them for free if you are serious about doing a business. Can you write in the chat, please? Yeah, thank you. Wadu Zama. So, yeah, we're saying, people are here to help you. So if you want, obviously it's going to be like anything else. When you start out, it's going to be some challenges. But if you persevere, you can actually do it. The question, David Icke, a part of the Matrix. Why do a lot of African people follow David Icke as if he's a savior? Well, again, it goes back to this thing about we follow everyone but ourselves. We seem to like, because remember, it's a mental thing. It's a whole programming that has been done for thousands of years, where like I said, you're taught to hate the color of your skin. this is where, they give you the Jesus image, and Jesus being the Son of God as they teach, and they mostly give you a Caucasian because, every race has God in their image. So they might not say to you, or some religious Christian groups say that Jesus is God. 1 minute he's the Son of God, the next minute he's God. So they kind of mix it up. But they've given you a Caucasian European image, blonde hair, blue eye, to worship from a time you went into school, religion. And so when leadership or anybody comes along that remotely even just looks that way, Black people they give them this reverence. And of course, David Icke seemingly appears to be going against the system or the status quo. And he was teaching about, the reptilian and information that he was then an outcast, so to speak. And people gravitate into that information. So people follow him because they like to follow, other than self and kind. That's why the master teacher, Panda Babyanun, says, because of racism and the fact that he's, am I still on Clubhouse? Because it's frozen again. Yeah, my Clubhouse is frozen. Sorry about that. I've just noticed that Clubhouse is frozen, so I'm not even sure if I've been on Clubhouse.
So it keeps freezing somebody kicking me out, but you can be heard.
Okay. Yeah, I can't move my screen or anything, so if I'm still on, that's cool. Yeah, so basically David Icke, but like a lot of these people who pop up and they give you information, the question people need to ask is, where are these people taking? Like, anyone can give you information, but can they give you a culture, your original culture? And can they tell you the future and where you're going and where they're taking you, other than come to lectures, pay your money, listen to them, and you go home? You might implement the information, just like you can go to a library and get a book and study on a subject and implement it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like we say, we encourage people to study as much as they can. But when it comes to who we are as a people and what we need to do to liberate us and to move forward, they're not about that. And this is what you have to look at. So yeah, there's lots of people out there that are giving you information to line their pockets. They don't do what we do and say, ask us anything, and put themselves on a forum where you can ask them anything. They give lectures, they give out information, which is great. But yeah, who's here for the next 20 to rule us and give us information to rule ourselves for the next 24,000 years? So I hope that's answered your question, Ja. If not, you can put some more in the chat. Do you have anything you want to add, madam? No. All right. So yeah, if there's any questions about anything we've covered, I can't see the questions in the chat in Clubhouse, so the mods are going to have to do that if someone's got a question. But yeah, following on from last week, unplugging from the matrix is about, like I said, we're here. We've got things in place. You can join us by hitting this button, filling out a short form. We'll get in touch with you. You start working with us. We've already got a platform that we're working on, which you can I'm just trying to pull it up. You can contact us. We've got the book out. The book is useful because it's like a one book that kind of puts certain information together for you to carry around and have it to your pocket, so that things that we talk about sometimes when I go through, like the different cultures and the different people, and how you can tie and connect everything. So that's a useful resource. If you want to book one-to-ones with ourselves to talk things on a one-to-one on a personal basis, you can do that as well. Because sometimes people don't want to ask certain questions in a public forum, and we give you the information. We recommend things to do with herbs and taking care of your health, even to do with unplugging from the matrix, with certain things that you may not have information about, which we can't go into in public forums. We can do that on a one-to-one, and ultimately it's about us coming together by you unplugging from the matrix. Go ahead. Please grab the mic. I think you have to switch it. Yeah, Rahobat.
What's the format for that? One-to-one sort of mentoring. Do we have to join or?
No, you can literally go on this site, click on book a one-to-one, and pick a time. Just let him load up. You pick a time. There's available slots. You just pick what time, we book it, and then we'll meet you, or sometimes it can be done over Zoom or whatever as well. So then we'll discuss what your personal situation and needs are in terms of how we can help you.
Okay, thanks. So it's the disruptive.
Yeah, it's ds4s.net, because we have to, we're talking to people, telling people to unplug from the matrix, but we are doing that ourselves but like I said last week, and I'll repeat just briefly, whatever your solution that you're going to utilize to unplug from the matrix, it's got to be based around wu-sabat. This is what we're recommending, right? It's got to be around wu-sabat, because wu-sabat deals with truth, it deals with our unification, it deals with the liberation of our people. So you've got to do something around wu-sabat. Whatever service or product or whatever you provide, we're not saying you, like the master taught us when he started to teach us business, he said, you buy from each other and you sell to everybody else. That's a very simple thing to do. So we're saying that it's got to be around promoting us as our culture and the things we do. It's got to be something that will help humanity. It's got to be something that it's of benefit to people. So that's why we put the book together. And in that vein, we've also got an academy where this is the academy, which is separate, where we're putting a lot of the courses and the information and the things that we teach, our classes, going to be available. A lot of them are going to be free, because sometimes you need to go back and replay, and then this you can do in your own time. And it's also another thing I said last week, whatever you're doing, you have to think on a global scale, global market, because like I gave the example, if you're thinking on a global scale, you can, I hope people can still see my screen, you can sell a product very cheap. In fact, you don't even have to produce the product or service, but it can be very cheap. If you can reach a lot of people, then it's a global market you've got to look at. Yeah, so this is the academy I just logged in to show you. But like, for example, you'll be able to go on this course. Some of it is still work in progress, but as you can see, but let me go back. I demonstrated this last week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but you can see on this side, you've got various categories which cover business, financial analysis, IT stuff, SQL, culture, dance, design, drawing, CAD, graphic design, Photoshop, web development, health, cybersecurity, marketing, music, personal development, photography. There's literally, nothing we can't do, or whatever skill you have in terms of teaching it to other people, you can do that. And you can also earn by putting your courses on here, so you can make money from it as well. So what we're saying is, this is just showing you an idea, an example of how we have to think, okay, we want to unplug from the matrix. What can we do? Set up a business. What type of business? Let's set up a business that's going to help humanity. Set up a business that's going to utilize wu-sabat in terms of giving out this information and teaching this information. It's got to be global, so it has to run online, e-commerce. Yeah, so you can, and obviously there's the last part is marketing. Marketing is essential, because you can have the best product or the best service. You can build the best looking store, best looking website, but if you don't drive traffic to that business and nobody knows about you, then you're not going to succeed as much. So marketing is definitely something. We're also building apps. So one of the things we've done is we're building an app to help us learn our language, because that's one of the things. Like, see here, for example, you can, and this, we have a free version of this, which you can access from the home page of this website. So if you go to the home page and you go right down to the bottom, just waiting for it to load up, you can, yeah, here you can sort of try the language for free, which will open up, I'm going to quickly let it open. It'll open up an app. We're still working on it, but you can, like, for example, you hear people say Rahul Bat all the time, for example, right? So if you don't know that, you can learn the language with going in here and type in the word, just waiting for it to load up, because this is quite private, as in you have to log in and stuff. But yeah, so I hope that answered your question. If it hasn't, let me know. But with the academy, you can learn at your own pace. So that's just one example. But of course, we've got different things we do with you but of course, we need to know your individual circumstances or what you need help with, etc. Everyone seems to be asleep today. Are you lot asleep?
No.
Is it too much information? Okay, because yeah, I don't like being up here and it's not getting across. So if this isn't, yeah, it doesn't normally take this long, but I'll leave it to load in the background. Are there any questions on Zoom? Anyone on Zoom? No questions on Zoom? Okay, Abby says, I have the fast track book, which I really love. Thank you. Oh, that's so good to get some feedback. I could not really read the charts on page 120. Good question. And I'm going to tell you the answer for that, because the print is quite fine for me to read. Please right. So in the book, there's a page that's called a tandem, which pardon me?
Sorry, Nadum, just to let you know, you disconnected from Clubhouse about 5 minutes ago.
Okay, look, see, let me just close it. And Clubhouse been acting up these days. I don't know. It started off being a good app, and it's just gone downhill. People were even saying we shouldn't even bother using it anymore, but let me try and go back in and see. Tap for letting me know that. Yes, right. Come back in. Tell me if I'm back. I should be back. It says I'm back anyway.
So you can get it now.
Told. Yeah, Clubhouse is going down. But I did some research. People were saying that the people behind Clubhouse, they got some money and they kind of disappeared instead of using the money to develop the platform. Don't know how true that is, but that's what I've heard. Because we were all like, it started off being such, or maybe it's because we were on it, because we were taking over Clubhouse. So much Sabians and Nuapians on Clubhouse. But yeah, so I was answering that question for you, Abby. I'm saying that in the book, there's a link to the website, which I've just shown, where we're going to put all like things like that. For example, anything you can't read or any new diagrams or anything, it's an extension of the book. So I'll make sure I get the charts in there. But one of the things, as we have already said in terms of joining us, the process is, once you fill out the form to join us, and when you join us, you can join from anywhere in the world, because we have, let me show you, we have stores worldwide. So when you go to our official website, unitedtobeansworldwide.com, if you go to the contact us page here, and it says bookstores, from the bookstores, you can see the nearest bookstore in your jurisdiction. So you can see we've got New York, United Kingdoms, of course. So if you expand these, you see, look, the address, telephone number, and website for New York is there. If you go United Kingdom, obviously that's us here. You see the address and telephone number, website. We've got North Carolina, Washington, Jamaica, Barbados, Ohio, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Georgia, of course, South Carolina, Delaware, Canada. So if you expand all of them, there will be some kind of address, telephone number, email address. So even though we get those, if you're online on our classes, on Clubhouse, on YouTube, and you join, if you are in one of these areas, we would forward your details to the people over there, so it's closer to you, obviously. But you can still participate with the things we do online. But if you do go to our website and you hit the join button, what happens there? You get given information, and there's a members section that you can log into where we have things like the chants and the newcomers guide, and we have a process for you to learn a lot about who and what we are, and then how you participate in terms of the activities that we have. We obviously have the podcast because we do a radio show every week on Tuesday. You can listen to all the shows we've done so far on this podcast link. So yeah, we do try to cater to everyone, no matter where you are. But we will definitely connect you with our family in the different parts of the world. Even like I said, in Jamaica, we have, yeah. So yeah, that's what we use. We utilize the website as an extension of the book and of the things. But what I wanted to show my brother was the courses. So when you log on and you go to the courses, let's say you wanted to carry on with the online version of Fast Track Your Spiritual Consciousness, you click on Continue Learning. You can see there are other courses, but with this, you can, it's interactive. So you can, I'm just going to show you a little bit because I'm aware of time. So you can actually like get the audio version, watch the video, then there are quizzes that you get asked, research things, and there's a quiz. So you can basically do it in your own pace, and like when you answer the questions, it shows your level of apprehension or comprehension, should I say. There are different quizzes. I think we went through some of this last week, so I'm not going to really go through that again. But yeah, the different sections of the book are all here, but it's an online version because we realized that going back to the unplugging from the matrix, not everyone can read. So we have to have a version where people can listen to and audio and watch and stuff like that. Right. So are there any questions regarding unplugging from the matrix, number one, or anything we teach, our doctrine? If you haven't watched any of our YouTube videos, that's something I would suggest you do. If you want to, like we say this all the time, basic instruction, read the books. If you can read the books, because your questions are supposed to come from what you are being taught by way of the books. All the information you hear me speak about, apart from my personal experience in my life, which I obviously tie in and relate to the doctrine, is from the master teacher. So you can get it straight from the book. And so we encourage everyone to read the books, read the scrolls. Everyone's quiet today. Clubhouse is quiet, Zoom's quiet, even the class here is quiet. Okay, ask a question, please. Because if not, we're gonna just say class done and we go home.
Can I ask
any question?
The first being.
Yeah.
The very, very first being.
Yes.
Are you saying they were from the seas?
No. I'm talking, you see, let me turn you up a little bit. It's so good for people to ask questions, and no matter how silly you think your question is, someone else can learn from it, right? When you say the first beings, in your mind, who or what are you thinking of the first beings?
Like you're saying our ancestors were the dolphins?
Right. But I'm saying, remember, this is one planet. So when people say the first beings, a lot of times they're only thinking about beings on this planet. Do you get it? Oh. We come from outside of the planet, as in our ancestors and even ourselves. So when we're saying the first beings, we have to be clear who we're referring to as the first beings. Okay. Are you talking about the first beings on the planet Earth?
No.
Right. I mean, because that's what humans think about ourselves. Yeah. And what we're saying is that our ancestors come from, well, not just from Orion and Sirius, Sirius A, Sirius B, and Sirius C, but even then, let me put this into perspective. So we're in one planet which has a number of planets that go around our sun, which is our solar system. And then you have other solar systems. And then you have different galaxies. Yeah. Then you have different universes, right? We only know about, most of the time when you're in school and growing up, everybody teaches you about the universe. They only think about one universe. There's 7 universes, right? Galaxies, there's millions of galaxies. So life has evolved in different parts from different origins, right? So life on Earth evolved from our sun, which evolved from another sun. So this is what I'm saying, like, when we talk about extraterrestrials and all these different species of different types of beings, their evolution didn't come by way of our evolution. Right, our ancestors, the Natharu, were the very first. But when you say, okay, let me read you something. Can I have the black book? Right, the master put out a book called the Holy Tablets, which was the conclusion of religion, because most people, when I say the conclusion of religion, meaning that the Bible, the Quran, and the religious books that taught you about life, the beginnings of life and how we came about, most people would go to the Bible or to the Quran, and they will tell you about this God that created everything. But within that, there's so many gaps and questions that are unanswered. So the master put out the Holy Tablets to say, because these books expired at the year 2000, and all the religious dogmas, all those books expired. And he was explaining to us in the Holy Tablets that there's life beyond, and I'm going to read you an excerpt from the Black Book, because I don't have the Holy Tablets on me, that explains that there were, even what you're calling time, that's why I did the whole thing before with the seconds and minutes and going outwards to the millions and millions and billions of years. But people think that because most people only live to like under 100 years old, there's no way people lived millions of years ago. But when we're saying there are beings that lived millions of years ago, they've evolved so far in terms of their intelligence that they're exploring the universes. They're in all parts of the universes. So the extraterrestrials, there's many extraterrestrials. But let me show you. Right. So he put out this calendar in the 90s. I can't remember when it was, but this one is 1996, right? And in this calendar, he gave us the different types of extraterrestrials. Like this is like the Deros. You can have a look at this afterward, but I'm just trying to quickly show you that you have like these, the Teros. You have this is what people are talking about, the Anunnaki, right? Like these, like Nagal, Erishkigal, Ninki, Ninti, Enlil, Ishtar, Enki, right? These are the Anunnaki. He gave us the Procyon. Then you have like the Ashtar Federation or the Ashtar Command. They come from Pleiades, right? You have the Flugorods, right? Leader of the Flugorods. And remember, these races on the planet, they have their ancestors outside of the planet. Sorry. So this is like Yanun. This is the being that is been sent here. He comes from Risk. They're scientists, right? And these are the Riskians, our elders or our ancestors. They were on a planet called Risk, but Risk was in Ilion, right? These are the Nomos, like the Dogons. They talk about beings that came to them. These are the Nomos, yeah. So you have Nomo, Amo, Yuruku. I pronounce the name properly. Then you have the Donakil, right? The Donakil, their leader here is called Fuqua, right? That you can see them. This is where you get that story of the big scientist, that Yakub, right? That's the story comes from him. Then you have these beings called the Duanis, yeah, and their leader, there's Sinclair. Then you have like these beings that people call reptilians, but there's different species of reptilians. If you come over here, so the beings, you know, Hatton is their leader. You got like the draconians, creature from the Black Lagoon. They show you some of these in the movies, and you think, oh, it's just a movie. Those are reptilians, or the greys, or species of reptilians. There's two types.
Sorry, can I ask, those reptilians, did they come after? Are you showing them in order?
I'm not showing them in chronological order.
Oh,
I'm just showing
okay.
you the different. We're going to talk about them, but I'm just showing you the different types of being. You got the predator. They actually showed you this in the movie Predator, right? And the Syrians, or the beings from Orion that people call Bigfoot, right? So you can see that these are the ones that mixed in with the original Caucasians known as the Flugerods. This is where you see Caucasians will have dark hair, fur, or what do they call that color? White, and it's kind of the red hair. Then you got the greys. A lot of people talk about the greys, right? You got the different types of greys. You got the echelon, you got the greys, the Maldekians, and the Maccabians. They're all from Zeta Reticulio, or something like that. So I'm just showing you, this is just species that have evolved from different star systems and come here and visit, but their origins are not from here. But our ancestors, the Riskians or the Natharu, were the first. And they basically seeded life in multiple universes. But let me read you. So this is from the Black Book. This book some know as the Sacred Record of Atum Re. It says, before time, as this is the introduction, before time as you know it was logged, beings existed in and out of this dimension, right? Again, when we say dimension, what do you understand by a dimension?
Planet?
No, a dimension. Yeah, go on. So like right here, we're here. There are different dimensions in this room, different levels of vibration. So there are beings that exist on different vibrational realms that you can't see them, but they existing. Yeah. So for example, the lower abodes of beings exist in the lower abodes. Remember, again, it's in our book where we give you the different realms, like from 1 going upwards to 9, and you got some going down as well. So you have like ghouls and demons and certain beings that are in lower abodes. Now, when you go to say to a psychic, for example, or a medium, and these mediums, they say they can give you information about yourself. What a lot of people don't realize, and this is very important, so pay attention. This is class. It's very important because you have ancestors that are trapped and they're being held hostage in the different realms or abodes, like people who have crossed over or passed on. And what happens is these mediums or psychics, what they do, those beings that are able, that have got your ancestors hostage, they will communicate with them and get information about, let's say, for a simple example, let's say you had I don't know, ancestors, mom, dad, someone that's crossed over, but they didn't make the grade and they've been trapped and they haven't left. Yeah. Meaning that when you cross over, gates open to allow you to make your journey. But if they got held hostage, the mediums utilizing these demons or these beings will get your ancestors to give them information to give you. So when they're acting as a medium, they're actually getting information and they will tell you, the person who's like looking to connect with their loved ones, and you believe them. But what happens is, by your belief, by you accepting what they're saying, you open yourself up. And then those beings attach themselves to you. So you walk away now where they've actually jumped in you or used you, and you become the vessel that they utilize in this world. And this is why sometimes people don't realize that when you go to this is why it's very important to know what you're doing when you're trying to tap into other abodes or other realms, or you using like mediums and psychics and all these types of things, because the word psychic goes back to sorcerer. And so we're saying that Not obviously not every single situation, but I'm giving you a scenario where there are beings. But let me carry on reading what I was reading. It says, before time as you know it was logged, beings existed in and out of this dimension. So in the different dimensions, yeah, worlds existed. Planets were inhabited by intelligent and not so intelligent beings who all lived in their own time zones based on their locations in this vast, boundless universes, right? Each place is in itself the place or origin of time, as in the word then, which becomes past and present simultaneously. Remember when I said at the beginning that you living in now, you have a then that's past and a then to come. And when you move from now, every now becomes a then. Yeah, but yeah, so as you're moving that way, you have a then, which becomes past and present simultaneously. These were agreeable and disagreeable beings. This was a system that was very similar to that presently on Earth, called the chain of existence that existed. Right. This is the bit I'm going to stop at. This last paragraph. He says, whereas stars burned out, planets died, and beings had to seek residence in other star systems. Oftentimes, we develop new survival tactics, eating habits, and even genetic alterations and the genetic alterations and manipulations to make it possible for us to exist in environments unsuited for our biological existence. Yeah, we oftentimes had to alter environments, create climates and seasons. So this is what happened with beings that came to this planet. They were escaping because their planet was being destroyed. And so what they did is our ancestors is they came here as spirit beings, or we even as soul beings. And our whole purpose is to come here and evolve and work our way back. But because we forgot who we are, and as in our spiritual, our real essence, our soul being, we are now having to relearn this. But the beings that run this planet and that run the world, a lot of those go back to these reptilians in their bloodline. Yeah. And these reptilian beings, they are about taking control. They want to, like, basically, reptilians, their nature is very disagreeable, very chaotic, but you have agreeable and disagreeable in everyone. So to answer your question, it depends on what you're saying very first, because even time that we know is just based around our planet rotating around the sun. But there's, like I just read, many, many different galaxies and beings that existed in different time zones.
Right. So when you mentioned those that are trapped,
yes,
from one place to the next,
yeah,
so they're trapped.
yeah.
I'm
listening.
And you have the mediums.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking, because I listen to a program on Tuesday mornings, where there is a presenter, and he'll speak on the same level as you're speaking, and he'll talk about from, for example, you know, if someone burgled our place and robbed us, that's because we did it in our previous life. So he will talk on that level.
Right.
But what he also does is card reading.
Right.
So he does card reading, and he can tell you, once you start speaking to him, he can tell you what's wrong with you. He can tell you where you're going, where you're coming from, etc., etc. But he does these card readings on you. But you have to just pick a number from 1 to 10, and he can tell you your future and your past. So is that all coming from this same tract? I mean, and is it something that is really not good to be doing?
I mean, the master teaches us to be mindful and careful of doing these things, because some of these people can tell you something or do something, and then, like, for example, some people like to learn things like astral projection which means leaving your body and stuff like that. Excuse me. And there are people who claim to be able to teach you this. But what you're doing is you're opening gateways and opening, sorry, it's 9 o'clock already. Opening gateways, and they're different door or gates. So you can go in the door and get trapped. And you won't be able to get back because they can show you how to do something, but a lot of them don't know the full information or how to bring you back. So this is why we say sometimes people try to dabble in things of that level without having a spiritual master or a guide or someone that can show them the right thing to do. With like card readers and psychics and mediums and things like that, again, like I said, every situation can be different, but he also has, warned us against that. When you say they tell you your future and it's true, how do you know it's true until you get there?
Well, I don't think he tells the few. No, he does tell the future. Yeah, because he'll say to the person, "You are going to be traveling."
Yeah, but what I'm saying is some of these guys, they're very good at using generalization, which will apply to anybody. But at the time, it may sound like it's unique to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you used to get the newspaper and read what they call the horoscopes, right? And it will say, let's say you're Cancerian or whatever. There will be a thing of reading for a Cancerian. Mm-hmm. And when you're reading it, you go, oh yeah, this applies to me. But the thing is, there's millions of Cancerians around the whole world, or like even the UK, that are reading that same thing. So how is it going to apply to everyone at the same time?
Yeah, that's true.
So what I'm saying is they're very good at, there's an art to it where they can say, like, okay, if I was to do a reading for you now and I say, you look like you've been working quite hard recently, and if you work hard enough, what you're doing is going to pay off in the future, right? It can sound like it's unique, and you'll be going, it's true, I've been working hard recently. And then let's say whatever you've been working on pays off in the future. You're going to say, oh, it's because the person told me that. But it's really because you did it. You see what I mean? So what I'm basically saying is every situation is different, but we try our best to, because if you can get someone to, if I can, or someone can get someone to accept and believe what they say, they can then get you to accept and believe anything else. And then that's where it can lead to them, taking you off the path of.
Well, what this guy knew, he uses cards.
There are many people that use cards, yeah. Yeah, tarot cards, yeah.
But he uses the cards, and you pick a number between 1 and 10, any number.
Yeah.
When you pick those numbers, because it's the cards. So you're going to pick card number 1, card number 5.
Yeah, no, I'm quite familiar with tarot reading. So, a lot of people are doing it, even on social media now. Everybody's, but go on.
So when you do that, those cards are actually telling your story.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you're saying it's telling your story, but it's an art. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that, I mean, obviously we're here to deal with Q&A in terms of our doctrine and stuff. So we can't defend or kind of like speak for anyone else, especially that's something you're relaying to me. I don't know this guy. I don't know how authentic he is or if it's even truthful. But I'm just saying, like, okay, ask him to give you the lottery numbers next week.
Well, not me. I've never.
Not you, but I'm just saying, like, whoever, and they won the lottery.
Well, do you know? I don't know if they actually won. But yeah. He's done it twice to 2 different people. He's actually given them lottery numbers.
Okay. Well, I can't comment on it.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, a lot of these people are, a lot of them are frauds, and they're very smart in terms of what they do. But I can't speak on him or anybody in particular. But like I said, if the question is to us as Sabaeans of wu-sabat, should we be doing that? The answer is no. However, because it's kind of gambling, it's just like chance, isn't it? So in our commandments, we're told specifically not to do that. That's all I can say in terms of what we do. But obviously, wu-sabat is a culture, and if you subscribe to wu-sabat, then there are certain things that we do and don't do, and it's very clear for us. But yeah.
Sorry, because I just want to know when you said that people are trapped.
Yeah, the trap part is, as we say, right? When this is why wu-sabat is here, so that you can learn the information, because when you get to that point where you're for lack of a better word, you're transcending or leaving here, if you haven't made the grade, you can come back, and or you can get trapped. Yeah, you can get trapped. Like there's a lot of disembodied souls or disembodied beings that are trapped in this realm. A lot of them are normally, well, Caucasians and Europeans. They don't really get out of this realm, or they're trapped on six ether. So what happens is, this is why when people like in churches and religions and stuff, they invoke these beings by, because most of the churches, if you look, they will have a cemetery around. Most churches have a cemetery around. And so you have a lot of disembodied beings that are roaming the planet. And they can only interact with the physical world through using somebody. Yeah. So when you open yourself up, they can walk into you. They call them walk-in. So they fuse their essence with you. And this is why certain churches where they start speaking in what they call tongues, and they get like thrown on the floor, they're foaming at the mouth, they're uncomfortable. That's because of a possession that's taking place between these disembodied beings that are fusing with the person physically, because they misinterpret what the scriptures is saying when it talks about speaking in tongues. The word is language, so that you'll be able to speak in other languages. But they think that, they say that when they're doing that, what they call speaking in tongues, where they're saying words like or whatever they're saying, they saying that's a special language. It's a language that is coming out because of the fusion between these disembodied beings. And so they always say they need to go to someone to interpret what they were saying at the time. But if I'm having a conversation with you and you understand what I'm saying and I understand what you're saying, that's when we're having a dialogue or communication. But then when they go to the preacher or the imam or the pastor or someone else who will say, oh, it means this and it means that, which they can just make up anything. And so we're saying that there are things that are happening on a spiritual level that people misinterpret, just like people misdirect, as I said earlier on, the gratitude and the praise of their ancestors helping them, yeah, and they will say, oh, it's because of God did it, or Jesus did it. They will use someone else and channel and say it was, but you don't know that, because when we start to probe and say, who is this God? What does it look like? Who is this person or being that you're talking about? They can't tell you. So, yeah, so what we're saying is that your ancestors can intervene and help you and guide you. And this is why you got agreeable and disagreeable. You've got the ones who have made it that are waiting for you when you're crossing over to help you and bring you and tell you what to do in that world, because they will give you an orientation. Like it's a new world. You need to know how to move. And there's a whole process that takes place when you're crossing over. But most of us have been given a religious concept of what happens when you die. So people don't prepare or know what to do as they get into that world, you see. So you have, like, for example, 60 days to go around and visit your loved one. Some people can't see you, but they can feel you. But those who are developed spiritually can see. Some people can see, people say ghosts or whatever, but they can actually see these beings because they have a high level of spirituality to the point where they can actually see them. Yeah. So when I say they're trapped, some are trapped because they didn't make the grade, and they're waiting for you as someone in their bloodline who, when you know this information, you can help them from the enslavement that they may be in. And we have a book called The Spiritual You After the Physical You Dies and the 24 Elders. This is a master secret. These both are master secrets that you can read that will give you information on what to do and what happens when you're crossing over. Because one of the things we say is that our teacher, he is a spiritual master as well as a physical master. So he's got 360 degrees of physical information and 360 degrees of spiritual information. So any question you put to him or has ever been put to him on that afterlife, or anything that people want to know, he can answer, and he puts it in the books for us to study and for us to learn. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? And
yes, Mom.
yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
Um,
After the
the
sister.
questions that he hasn't been passed, like we have to
You know
come
what?
back and
Since your
pass
line,
it.
your line is very. I don't know if you need to move back away from your mic, but it's a bit it's hard to hear you.
Okay. Hear me now?
We can hear you, but it just comes across very hard, like muffled.
Okay, let me just take the earpiece off. Hold on.
Okay. In the meantime, whilst you're doing that, someone says, is there a book that goes into or explains about the Yoruba? I have been noticing some names whilst reading the holy tablets and parts of the black book that appear to be in the Yoruba language. It will be interesting to read what the master teacher says. Yeah, we are the original Yoruba. That's our, it's part of our culture, as in we're animists. So it's just that what happened is, like everything in our culture, it got desecrated or influenced, shall I say, by Arabs and other people. That's why when you look at the original,
Tuasamo, you heard me now?
yeah, yeah,
Excuse me.
that's better.
Yes.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can ask,
Okay.
I can hear you properly now. Yeah. So
You,
just give me a minute. Just finishing up.
okay, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, if you look at the original Yoruba deities and structure, they align with our ancient ancestors in Egypt. So even like what happened is like Oba, where the Arabs kind of influenced it, you start to get words like Oba, Obatala. You can hear Allah at the end of that because they influenced and brought, yeah, someone just said it. They just and then they started doing things like sacrifices and blood sacrifices, killing chickens and this and that to appease their gods, which ties into, like I said, the Europeans or the monotheistic religion. But that's when it kind of went wrong. But the original way of the Yoruba is that's us. That's even what people call voodoo and all of that. Voodoo is not, they turned it into a bad thing, or they turn it into what they call black magic, but we just knew sciences, That's where the word chemet comes from, chemet or chemistry, the ability to transform base metals into other things. So what I'm saying is that, to answer your question, Abby, that yeah, you will find names and alignment with Yoruba with us, because if you look at when the master first started teaching in Brooklyn, he was, he used to play the drums. He had the bone in his nose and certain practices that Yoruba practices that we had. It's the ones that got influenced with the blood sacrifices and the Arab influence, and now they're doing certain things that wasn't part of the original culture. So the book that you can read, I think it's I think on the top of my head. And I think it's in the Coming Forth by Day. That's one of the scrolls. I'm sure there are others. The Quranic biblical, let me see if I can find it. The biblical Anunnakis, that goes into a little bit. I'm going to try and find the exact title. But yeah, I hope that's answered your question. Nicole, you go, and then the brother in the class.
Yes, Amal.
Yeah, Rahobat, go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't pass the test, so we had to come back here to pass our test. Does they send back the same beings that was beside us before to pass our tests again?
Oh, when you go back again?
Yes, when we come back again, do they send back the same set of beings for us to pass the test?
No, not necessary, because the information is what you need to master, like what the master is teaching us. But there are many things he's yet to teach us. But if you just look at it when you when you're studying over here in a school or something, every time you take an exam, there might be a different invigilator. So you can look at it that way. But they all know the same information about you, because your records are kept on the me stones, your personal matrix. You have a disk that you record everything. Everything about you is recorded. You record it yourself, because again, when we're dealing with technology, you have to realize that these beings are so advanced. So the type of the type of um the type of technology they use is like, for example, your eyes record everything you see. So everything is like your eyes are like cameras basically, but they record everything. They're solar panels, and you are a crystal, and you store information in your DNA, in your cells. So everything you've ever touched is stored in your matrix. Everything you've ever seen, wherever your feet have walked, they all record this information, and it's recorded as light information. So now this world, they're starting to tap into how they use DNA as chips on computers, because they realize that it can hold so much information. So yeah, so the way they basically record everything. So every time you come back, someone just has to pull your disk and read the information. And they say, like, some in the I think it's the same scroll I mentioned before, the spiritual you after the physical you dies. It explains about they can rewrite parts of your disk. Say if you did something and you were sincere about it and regretted it, they can wipe it. And sometimes most people, the memories get wiped when they come back again. So you kind of just forget certain things. So yeah, this is something that's why the information we teach, it's about you learning so much things to be able to transcend the different realms. So we're supposed to be able to remember. Most people don't remember their dreams, for example. And your dreams, some of them are you traveling to other dimensions or other realms during the time you're supposedly sleeping, and you're experiencing certain things, and you're meant to be able to remember these things when you come back. And there's so much things you need to do in terms of, how you sleep, what you expose yourself to, what sounds you expose yourself to, what visual things you take in, so that all of these things help you in your spiritual journey. Do you meditate? Do you relax? Do you eat the right foods? Do you do certain spiritual practices like fasting? There are many things that we meant to do that we, because of laziness or because of the system we live in, that there's so many distractions that mean you don't actually sometimes get to do the things you need to do. Yeah.
So more. So what about you? What about how you feel like you know them before? It's like you get in a sense of something.
Yeah, because you like I said, you may have experienced it before, and you know things as well, because you can tap into your etheric parents. You're connected to your etheric parents. So what do I mean by that? Like, you have physical parents that you come through, as in your mother and father. In the etheric world, when you were born there, you have etheric parents as well, and you're connected to them by something called an etheric cord, just like you have an umbilical cord when you come here physically. But the etheric cord is an energy cord. So no matter where you're in the world, you're still connected to them by that cord. Then when you have relationships with people, like if you're, in a man and woman relationship, your etheric chords become, you have an etheric chord with them. You have an etheric connection with everyone that you come in contact with. But the ones that are strongest are the ones, like I said, if you're in a relationship or whatever, that gets really bonded. Thank you. That's why when people break up, it's hard sometimes to let go because you're still connected to them, and it can take years for that bond to be separated. But yeah, so if you were to look at the planet, they're literally like lines of connections between everyone. There's a grid, energy grid, that people are connected to each other. Although that's why someone can be on the other side of the world, and if they're sick, for example, you can chant or you can pray for them or do certain things and heal them because you are connected. And those who are more in tune with their abilities and abilities to do those things, they and still connected to their receiving information or information from their etheric parents, who guide you and stuff, they're stronger at it. But yeah, so that's why sometimes you will remember things, that where you've traveled. You travel to the past, or you can travel to the future and come back to now. All right, is that it? Because we've got a couple of questions in the class.
So, Tazimo, go ahead.
Okay, and right, brother. You go ahead.
What is the difference between dimension and density? Because some people say dimension is like a building and density is like the levels of the building. Is accurate?
All right, let me explain it. So a dimension is like, okay, simple way to explain it is, water. Water can be ice, which is solid, and it can be liquid. But that liquid can be heated up and it can become steam or vapor. So this is different dimensions of the same thing. Now, if I'm physical right now, I could walk through this wall. This is a different dimension because it's vibrating on a different frequency. And if you know how to, because you're made up of atoms, yeah, nothing is really solid. Everything's held together by atoms. But you can transform or change your molecular structure. This is what I was reading in there, where he said that, let's say, for example, if you were born in an environment where there were three suns, like risk, the way you grow and develop, even the plants and everything is going to be different because you're subjected to three suns, as opposed to in this planet, we only got one sun. So that's different dimensions. When you're saying density, density is the level of the vibration. So for example, I gave you solid, liquid, gas. Now that gas can become ether and keep going into different realms. So when you look at, say, the periodic table, they give you how things, in terms of their density, they start off very light, like with a hydrogen atom, and then you add one to it, you get two, you get helium, and you keep adding. Then when you get to 6, that's carbon. You keep getting to 8, that's oxygen. You see what I mean? And the more you add, the more dense it's becoming. So now that's from the lightest. But if you went subatomic, which is going the other way, the atom gets split into a smaller version of itself, and then you start getting what we call quarks, yeah, biaps, ziads, going that way. 9 levels of ether. This is what we call the etheric realm. So you get to a point where the density is too light, where it's not, it's not tangible. This is why before they knew there were subatomic particles or things that were smaller than hydrogen, they just said nothing existed beyond hydrogen, but they didn't know the information. But our ancestors exist on the other side, on the etheric realm. This is where the whole concept of heaven and people going to the spiritual side comes from. But our ancestors exist in that realm. They can slow down their vibration and become solid, so they can personify. This is what I was saying, like when a loved one passes on, or even yourself, your physical body gets put into the ground or burnt or whatever. But whatever was keeping you alive has now left your physical body. And that is what is now on a different dimension or different density level. So the lower the vibration, the more dense or hard things become. The higher the vibration going that way. So when you get into 9 ether, that's high, faster vibration. When you come down, it's slower and lower vibration. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead, brother. And then, yeah.
What's the name of the book of about the? Yes, so that's good.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's it, the spiritual you versus the physical you, right? That's the name of the book.
No, it's the spiritual you after your physical you dies.
Okay. Also, what's the concept of this white light? Don't go into the white light.
Yeah. So I explained that before you came in. So when you're crossing over, this is where religious people or people who have had a near-death experience, they always say they saw the white light. They saw a white light, but they don't explain that white light. They say sometimes with people that have a near-death experience, they don't go towards the light and they wake back up, or that's when they don't cross or they don't die, right? So imagine you're in hospital and you have a near-death experience. They go and they see a white light, but then they come back and then they wake up. Now, the white light is a wormhole, which if you did go to it, it will bring you right back into this world. You get it? So you died,
yeah,
but you didn't make it, so you have to come back. So you go through the white light and come back. So it's a wormhole that brings you right back.
Okay, so that white light essentially that wormhole essentially wipes every memory.
Yeah, some of it. And this is why we're saying when you do cross over, this is what happens. Religious world, they will have, let's say when you cross over, you see your ancestors on one side and you see a white light on that side. Your ancestors will be telling you, come this way, come to us. But because of religion, and you've been taught that the light is white, the light is good, and like this whole Jesus Christ and all that stuff, you will refuse to go towards your ancestors, which means you failed the test. Because if you went towards your ancestors, they will guide you and take you and show you, because they've already been there. But if you don't go towards them and you go towards the light, the white light, then you go through the wormhole and you come back. And the thing is, when you come back, that's if you crossed over, yeah? That means, remember I gave an example where you wake up, that's a near-death experience. So you didn't actually die. Yeah. But the one where you actually die and go through that wormhole, you come back, but in another life. So you start in again. And then you have to live another life, hopefully learn. And, this time when you go back round, if you don't learn, you go through it again. And you just keep doing that cycle until when you finally get it, and you get to that point this time and you see your ancestors. So like now, a lot of people that are learning wu-sabat and hearing what we're teaching, we're telling them now, look, go towards your ancestors. So now if you are someone who in a previous life didn't go towards your ancestors, and this time round, we're teaching you information and you get to that point again, you're going to know what to do. You're going to go towards your ancestors. Yeah.
But people don't see their ancestors, do they? You just see the white light and that's
how do you know that people don't see their ancestors?
Yeah, I've heard stories. They don't see ancestors, they just see a white light and just go to
the because they're not developed already enough. This is why we're teaching you to make a connection with your ancestors now, whilst you're still here. So you, like, for example, there are rituals that we do or teach you to do where you can communicate with and learn to know who your ancestors are, because you hear voices in your head all the time. And the voices are either from your ancestors or from other people that attract or other beings that want to influence you to do or go in a different direction, you see. So that's why we're saying learn now. Most people are scared even to have, because you've been taught about ghosts and doppy and stuff, that people are scared. But if you learn, and you become aware of this world, this dimension of ancestors, you get to know who your ancestors are before you cross over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All these subjugations that humans have experienced, were they supposed to happen because of the natural cycles of man, or because the regressives abuse their powers, or is it because of karma? Why do they happen?
Right. When you say subjugation of people, you're talking about us as a people. Or
yeah, just humanity, because everybody.
Not everybody. Not everybody has been suppressed and subjugated to the level that we have.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
right.
We have more. Yeah, but it's all by design, just to keep some people on top.
No, that's what. No, it's not. But it's not. It's by technology. This is what we're saying. Like, if a people have been told, like, for example, a lot of people grew up in Christianity or Islam or something, and that's another race telling another race to worship them and to look up to them and to look at them as being superior. So that gives them the right to suppress you. And if you look in the world today, no other race does what we do. Every other race has a deity or God in their own image and likeness. We're the only ones that go towards everybody else's religion. So that, in a sense, is why you need to know who you are. Because remember that the European or the people that put you into slavery, not everybody was in slavery, of course, but they taught you this. They taught you to hate yourself. They taught you that you're nobody. Even now, to the point where the people that are crossing, the channel to come over here, that are dying on their way here, that's the mentality of thinking there's a better life over here. Obviously, some of them are in Europe and places where it is bad for them, yeah, so they need to come here. But I'm saying people that are coming, say, from Africa to here and worshipping a white Jesus or a white Muhammad, you're being taught to basically be subjugated. They tell you that you're not worth anything, and they've mixed this into the fabric of their society, even to the fact of the Constitution in America doesn't recognize you as a human being. So when people are fighting for things like civil rights, it doesn't make sense, because how can you fight for the right to be civil, especially when you civilize everybody else? So these are the types of things where you're saying it's not like our ancestors are saying, yeah, you need to be subjugated and suffer. It's our stupidity, our ignorance, our lack of love and knowledge for who we are is what's keeping us trapped. Because the minute we recognize that and we say, like the master is teaching us to do, give them back everything. We don't need their religion. We don't need their gods. We don't need anything from them. Then we become strong and we build and we basically become the gods and goddesses that we are. Yeah, that's what this is. This is what this is about. The knowledge is about recognizing that, because people in religion will say everybody has to believe in something, and you say no, I don't. I don't believe you. I don't believe your God. I don't believe your books. I don't believe it. Now what? Because they think that if the minute you believe, you're subjugated, because now you're giving your energy and your power to someone or something else, telling you to, like I said in the beginning, face Mecca or the Kaaba to pray. But they tell you in another breath, God is everywhere. So if I face the wrong way, then what? Go to a church and pray. Bend like this, hold it, do all this stuff, which all comes from us anyway. Yeah, so we are the reason why we're still in slavery. And I remember Kanye West said he made a comment like people chose to be in slavery, and people went, crazy on him. But you do choose. You do choose whether you want to be going to work for somebody else every week, every day, or not.
Yeah, but the slavery frequency, or probably consciousness, is already in DNA.
Yeah,
the ancestors.
Right.
So it's already there. Slavery is already there.
Yeah.
That means you are forced. You're just naturally forced to be a slave.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's not there for you to be a slave. What happens is you've been tricked. Like it's there for you to wake up. But if I come, that's why most people are waking up now, because there's a time period which is known as the sun cycle that we're in now, which started from the year 2000. And there was 6,000 years of a moon cycle before that. Yeah. And during that time, it's like, the seasons. We have summer, winter. Now we have there used to be only 2 seasons, summer and winter. Now we have autumn and spring that's been interjected into it. But cold winter time, is that the best time for you? Do you like the winter? What you like the sun time, right? Summertime.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So it's not that we die during the winter, but most of us hate the cold or the weather like that because we're sun people. We're born in the sun in Africa, like we're sun people. So we're at our best in the sun. So when you're looking at the sun cycle and the moon cycle, it's not that we weren't around in the moon cycle, but during the moon cycle, the 6 ether forces are more potent. Just like during the winter, Caucasians, South Europeans, they love the cold. They're wearing shorts and t-shirts when it's cold, and we're saying it's not summer yet. They're walking around in so because the climate is more conducive for them. Why? Because of the leprosy. You know what I mean? The lack of melanin. Whereas we love the sun because it charges up our melanin and it opens us up. We like to be in that environment. So what we're basically saying is that your DNA is programmed for you to wake up. But if I come as a religious person and tell you, worship God, worship Allah, go to the mosque, do these things, work for the white man, work for someone else, then you're giving up your divinity. You're giving up your powers to someone else. But your DNA is going to spark off now because we're living in a time period called a sun cycle where disinformation is supposed to spark people off. You know, when you listen to, you hear it, it makes sense. You're like, wow, I didn't know this all this time. I was hoodwinked. I was lied to, you know. So now you're awake. But some people, they're like a hamster in the treadmill, you know, and even though you open the thing and say, come out, they just carry on because they've been programmed and used to that for so long that they don't want to take the risk or the chance. A lot of people like to go somewhere where all the work is done. You know, it's easier for me to go and work for someone else and they're paying me my wages every month. And that's it. I don't have to do anything. But if you have to build your own business from scratch, you learn about marketing, you learn about products, you learn about customers. You have to learn and work and build. But then you build something which can grow as big as you want. You're the boss, you're the CEO, you control your own time, you make your own money. Yeah. Right, let me just read a couple of questions I've got on the Clubhouse. Wonderful, I was seeing the names, but thought I was making it up. No, you're right, that's my brother Abby. And then Benjamin, I've met my ancestors so many times and they gave me messages and most times teaching stuff. Secondly, about the spiritual family, I was taught by my father who passed away. Most of this conversation I have been taught. I'm glad to hear it again. You see, so this is what's happening. Like now, I'm telling you, the amount of people that come and tell us stories of spiritual experiences, of certain things they've gone through, it resonates because most people are taught that this is mad, they're crazy. When they talk about speaking with your ancestors, this is why they cut us off because when you start to trace your history, and you end up back in the walls of Egypt or, you know, somewhere where you can see drawings and your face and everything. In Islam, they tell you it's a sin to have pictures. They tell you it's a sin it's haram to sing. Yeah, because music and singing and chanting are things that we do that connect us with our ancestors. So they try to cut that off. They say you're not allowed to have pictures. But you go to the Catholic Church, you go to churches, they've got pictures of Jesus in so many positions doing choreography to the point where you don't know. It's true. You look over there 1 minute, he's like this. You look over there, and they have statues and pictures, and it's all of their ancestors looking like them, blonde hair, blue eye, whatever, you see. But they try to cut your energy off and tell you, pray like this, channel your energy this way. Then we get cut off from our ancestors. Okay. Wow, is that the time already? Class is finished. Yeah, so I mean, anyone with a last burning question? Clubhouse? I don't know if there's anything in the chat. No. Oh, Haptui was giving some good references. Actual facts number 25, natural ether energy. Also, he says, beyond these states are black energy and black matter, which physicists can only speculate about. That's true. We all know of solid liquids and gases and plasma. Beyond these states, there are infinitesimal states of material matter known as natural ether energy, invisible to the naked eye and undetectable with physical instrumentation. Yeah, this is what we're saying. Our ancestors exist in these states. And Sanan Nafir Reye Ba'a says conflicts between the gods set the record straight. And there's a book that the master put out way back dealing with the Yoruba. Thank you for that, Tawatak Zamal. The books listed at the top go deep into the Yoruba system. That question was kind of related to what I said before about the people that tell the future. It says, does the people who can tell the future tell you what is the best formula to use for Black people to come together? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the fears will have powers stronger than separation and racism. If you all don't realize we're living in a different day and time, it's our time. It's our time to rule. And some people are just afraid and scared to take on the responsibility. But the only thing about fear is fear itself. You can't fear the unknown. Like I'll repeat again, if we want to help, free the master teacher, Pana Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z. York. This is the email address, acts of kindness donate at outlook.com, because the easiest thing for us to do to help us collectively worldwide is to free him. Because the information you're hearing, I mean, he says, how right does a man have to be to prove his divinity? Meaning that if he's answered all the questions, written all the books, built communities to show us how we can be successful. If he's done all of these things and you still have doubts, but you don't doubt other people who have not allowed themselves to be questioned, not put out any information, not built any communities, not translate all the scriptures, not speak all the languages, not do any of these things, and you believe that, and you believe in a God and a heaven in a place that is unconfirmed, if you can do that, then I really don't know. Because I can sell you a product that I'll say, here you go, can you give me £20 for this? And you can't see it and you accept it and give me money for it. I'll be the richest man ever. If I can sell you a product that doesn't exist and you accept it. And like, can't you see it? It's right there. This is what they do with religion. They sell you a product of Jesus. People say, he's my personal savior. And I say, if he's personal, that means you know him. If I have a personal friend, I know him, right? Or her. Then I say, what does he look like? They can't tell you. They say, 1 minute he's in heaven, sitting on the right-hand side of God. The next minute he's everywhere. And I'm like, there's people in Nigeria that are telling you Jesus is there with them and speaks to them. And there's people in England that are telling you that. They say the blood of Christ. And the average human body has only a certain amount of ounces of blood. How much blood did Jesus have? And people say, I cover you with the blood of Jesus. I cover you. Like, how does that even make sense? There's no blood. They're just saying it. You said, do you know what blood really is? Cut yourself and see. Blood is, you can touch it, see it. But there's this fictitious blood of Jesus that everybody covers you with, that no one sees, but it's everywhere around the world. He would have bled to death by now.
Yeah, I think they're talking about spiritual.
There's no spiritual blood. That's my point. That's why I'm saying I can sell you a product that doesn't exist. What's spiritual blood? There's no such thing. So that's what I'm saying. This is how our minds work. They will tell you something and you will accept it and not believe and just believe it. Spiritual blood. What's that?
Wouldn't it be context?
No, go on. It's good because we like this kind of conversation.
Because I used to.
Please use the mic because the people online want to hear you. Yeah. I'm saying what you're telling me is you believe it.
Well, I mean, I used to go to church.
So did most of us.
Regularly.
Yeah.
And how they would talk is they believe and know because...
See, that's a contradiction straight away.
Okay, some of them will say they know, some say they believe. Those who know say they know because of this.
They know what? What do they know?
When they say, oh, Jesus is my personal savior.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for me.
Yeah.
Personally. They say that because of the experiences.
What experience?
They will go.
What I'm saying is you can be successful and achieve something, and this is what I mean by misdirected gratitude and praise. It's like if you get into an accident, and you get taken to hospital, a doctor comes and saves you, operates on you, and the minute you wake up, what do you say? Thank God. But God didn't do it. But this is what I'm saying, how people say, yeah, but it was God that made the doctor to come and save me. Then you say, where was God to prevent the accident?
Well, that's when they will say, he's my personal savior.
That doesn't make sense. What I'm saying, it doesn't make sense. Because if God could have stopped the accident, he should have stopped the accident, not set it up where the accident takes place. And we always put this another point. There's two people in the car, one dies, one survives, and then gets taken to the hospital, and then the doctor treats him, and you come and you say, thank God for the person that survived. Who's responsible for the person that died?
Well, the accident is a free will.
There's no such thing. There's no free will. But see, we're at the end of class, and now we're going. But wait, stop. We're not doing it. Now you're talking for God, which is what people do when they start making excuses. Back to my sister, we'll come to that. You said they say it's this, but I'm saying there's no proof. That's belief. When you can't prove something, it's a belief. So you believe that God did it or Jesus or this. But when we start saying, where's the evidence? Because anybody can believe anything they want. But we're saying, how do you know that it wasn't your ancestors that did the helping you to do what you're claiming is Jesus? Because Jesus never existed.
Before the ancestors. Before our ancestors.
He never existed. Full stop.
But God did.
Listen, I'm saying, even that's what I'm saying. That's a biblical word.
Okay. Your
ancestors existed and exist because you're tied to them by blood through your DNA, from your great grandparents to your parents to you. That's a fact. Anything else that you can't prove, it's a belief.
So should we be thanking our ancestors?
That's right.
Instead of saying,
yes,
God.
Yeah, this is what we're saying. This is how they get you to cut off from your ancestors. Right, last point before we go, we're going to close off after your point. You were saying what? God, what? Do you want a mic? Give him the mic, please. Because you know what happens as well? When you start talking for God, that just, your programming, the religious programming just kicks back in. But let's hear it. Go on.
Yeah, because I was saying, because you said, why didn't God stop the accident?
Yeah, because he doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I'm saying...
did you hear what I said? He didn't stop it because he doesn't exist.
Because he doesn't exist.
Yeah, God doesn't exist. Now, prove to me that he does.
No, what I'm saying is that...
yeah, go on. What are you saying?
The universe does not stop.
Oh, so you've changed it now. You've gone to the universe. So, no, it's not God or the universe. It's got to be one of the two.
I said accidents happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Accidents happen.
Nothing stops free will.
Yeah, but my point was there's no God to stop it. That's what you're saying is nature. Nature does take place and happen. Yeah, we agree with that because we are animists. We believe in nature. What we're saying, people use the term.
Even if God really existed,
why are we conjecting?
He would take his place.
No, you see, you're doing it now. Even if he did, he would. You're speaking for something that doesn't exist. So you're making up stories.
Yeah, I'm making a point. I'm making the point that Christians or religious people understand.
What do they understand?
They feel that God doesn't come and just save you or stop every situation from happening.
Because he can't. That's the point.
But for them, he does.
He doesn't. That's the point. No, we're saying, listen to me. I'm not arguing, but I'm saying to listen to what you're saying.
for them, he exists.
Yeah,
and
but
he exists.
Yeah, but
he doesn't stop every
my brother, listen to what I'm saying.
Does that make
No, it doesn't make sense. You're saying he exists for them, and I'm saying he doesn't, because he doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what they understand.
Yeah, but I'm talking factually, not beliefs. They can believe that if they want. That's what point of we're saying. Religion makes you believe something and accept something that it's not true. And when you start dealing with untruths or falseness, that's how we get caught in the subjugation you're talking about, or in slavery, because I can sell you something that doesn't exist. Our ancestors exist. Anyway, that's the last.
Sorry, can I?
Because we have to go. We really have to round up.
Ancestors, and I do believe in our ancestors. I definitely believe.
See, you don't need to believe it.
I mean, I know.
You know. Right.
I do
Okay.
know.
Go.
I do know.
Yeah. This is definitely the last point. Before
you were speaking about people speaking in tongues, or different languages, or speaking in tongues. Right. Sorry, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from with that. Earlier on, were you saying that those tongues, they're not real? Or
no, I already explained to you what was happening. They were being possessed.
Right. Possessed in a positive way?
No, in a negative way.
Right. So people who speak in tongues, they're being possessed in a negative way, you're saying?
Yeah, because when you ask the experience that they're going through, is it a positive experience?
Okay. In a negative way, where are those tongues coming from?
That's what I'm saying. It's not the word tongue in the scriptures.
Or language.
No, it's not. Don't say all language. This is what I'm saying. The confusion is people will take the reality of something and make it into confusion. Like a language is when you have a dialogue and you can understand. That's a language. Yeah. When I go and no one understands what that is. What's that?
Gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook. Right. Wait. Let me finish. So then, when you ask them, the person who's gone through the experience, what does it mean? They say they don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna.
And I've told you what I've said. What happens is you're getting disembodied beings that are trapped here that need to utilize a physical body. Yeah, we have a book upstairs called "What Is God's Language," which you can get because it goes through this. Yeah, and that's called gibberish, what they're speaking. That's what it's called, gibberish. So you can try and convince somebody and say, oh, it was God that was speaking to me and he gave me a message and he said this. But normally you have to go to your pastor or someone to interpret it for you.
Right. But so
your last point before we go.
It's a negative, what's happening?
Yeah.
That was negative.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say to you that I have definitely spoken in a different language.
Which language was that?
Somalian.
Oh, Somalia is a language, isn't it?
Yeah. But I was praying one day. Yeah. And it's happened to me about 3 times.
Yeah.
The first time.
Can you speak Somali?
No,
generally,
no, I can't.
Okay, go on. No, but you see what you're doing? This is what in the Bible, that's what it meant. It meant that you will be able to speak another language and spread the word, because the disciples were meant to go around and spread, in the biblical sense, right? Spread the word. And they were able to go to people and speak their language. That's what we're saying, that it's a language that someone can understand. So if you suddenly got the abilities to speak Somalian, that's truly speaking in tongues in the sense of what the Bible says, because it's a language and somebody can understand it, not gibberish where no one knows what you're talking about, which is a fusion of disagreeable beings taking and possessing your body. Yeah. That's what we're saying. But at least you said Somalia. Now we can identify with that. Because then you can say, okay, even if you didn't know what it meant, you can go to someone who can speak Somalia, and is that what you say? Speaks about Somalia?
Somalian.
Yeah. They will be able to tell you what it means. And there's no confusion. And that's clear. So we're going to leave it on that note. Okay. But thank you all for coming. And please unplug from the matrix, connect with us so we can help you if you don't know how to. And Yeah, Wadu, Moisa. My clubhouse is frozen again, so if Wadu, if any mods can just shut the clubhouse down, please, because I can't hear. All right, Wadu. Asho, Wadu.
Recording stopped.